collection of 7 meaningful Buddhist stories to awaken your wisdom. Buddhist philosophy is considered the philosophy of awakening. A process that not only opens your eyes but also awakens your outlook on life and your intelligence. Here are 7 meaningful Buddhist stories, please refer to them. 7 meaningful Buddhist stories. 1. Candy philosophy. Every day you give candy to a child. You do it very often and happily, that child would have also loved you. Every day when he sees his friend, he smiles brightly and runs to receive candy, but then one day, you patted its head and said, "I'm out of candy." Suddenly you find it very different. It screams loudly that you are stingy, you are evil. Or it went around to slander you. Lesson learned. When you give something to others so much that it becomes a habit, they will not see it as a gift but as your responsibility. And when you stop giving them what they want, they will immediately turn against you. 2. The key. A large lock was hung on the door. No matter how strong the force was, there was no way to open it. However, when I inserted the key, a small, insignificant item, with just a light flick, the lock opened. Many people wonder, why can't we open the lock even if we use all our strength, but we just put this small key in and it opens right away. The key says, because I know its insides best. Lesson learned. Each person's inner self is like the lock hanging on the door. No matter how hard you try to get in, you can't get in. Only by caring and turning yourself into a delicate and meticulous key can you enter the hearts of others and understand them. 3. Cup of tea. A professor from a famous university came to see the Zen master because he had heard about his wisdom and noble conduct. To prove himself to the Zen master, he proudly introduced all the titles and degrees he had achieved during his long years of hard study and work. Then the professor said the reason for his visit was to learn all the wisdom of Zen. Instead of giving an answer, the Zen master invited him to sit down and make a pot of tea. He poured the professor a cup of tea, and when it was full, he continued to pour. The professor watched the tea spill over the table until he couldn't hold it anymore, then said, "The tea is already overflowing, there can be no more." At that time, the Zen master leisurely put down the teapot and said, "Just like this cup of tea, you are full of opinions and prejudices. How can I teach you about Zen if you don't empty your own cup?" This story teaches us that, with a mind full of prejudices and conservative thoughts, we cannot learn and absorb new knowledge and noble philosophies in life. Demonstrating a humble attitude and eliminating ego clinging means we are emptying the cups of our souls. 4. Rats fall into rice bowls. A mouse fell into a jar of rice. Half of the rice in the jar was still left. This unexpected incident made it indescribably happy. After determining that there was no danger, it immediately began its life of eating and then sleeping, and then eating again in the rice jar. Very quickly, the jar of rice was about to run out, but in the end it still could not escape the temptation of the rice grains, so it continued to stay in the jar. Finally, when the rice was all eaten, the mouse discovered that he could no longer jump out. Lesson learned. Our lives seem very peaceful, but in fact, everywhere is full of dangers. We need to maintain a stable concept of life, from which we know how to consider safety. 5. Gift. One day, while Buddha was preaching his teachings to his disciples under a large tree, suddenly a Brahmin monk came to insult him and intended to attack him. But under the intellectual gaze of an omniscient being, he reacted to his angry attitude with complete silence. At that time, because he was so surprised by the Buddha's behavior, the Brahmin man asked the Buddha why he was silent and listened to him curse. Buddha replied calmly, "If I give you a gift and you don't accept it, then who does the gift belong to?" "Belongs to me," the man replied. Buddha nodded and explained, "Likewise, if you curse me, I won't accept it." This story teaches us that, although some people decide to waste their time and energy on us with insulting words, we have the right to choose whether we should accept it or not. Or not. Just like we choose to accept a gift or return it to the giver. If you accept, you take the gift, otherwise the person who offended you is simply a poor person left to their own negative behavior. 6. Find the needle. Late one afternoon, in an alley, people saw an old woman with a frail appearance. It seemed like she lost something and was looking for it. "I'm looking for the needle," the old lady said. All the people there started looking for needles with her. After searching for a while without finding anything, everyone gradually lost patience and asked the old lady, "The line is long and the needle is very small. Where exactly did you drop the needle?" "Inside my house," the old lady said. Hearing that, someone got angry and shouted, "Are you confused? If you dropped your needle in the house, why did you come out here to look for it?" The old woman bluntly replied, "Because there is sunshine outside. But inside the house there is none." This story teaches us that, many times because of convenience, we look for external values when it is really found inside. Why do we look for happiness outside of ourselves? Is it because we lost it there? 7. Forgiveness. Among Buddha's cousins, Devadatta was always jealous and determined to harm Buddha. One day, while Shakyamuni Buddha was standing on the side of Vulture Mountain, Devadatta climbed to the top, pushed a huge rock and rolled it down right where he was standing. Fortunately, when it rolled down near the Buddha, the rock was blocked by other rocks. However, the force and weight of the rock upon impact caused it to break and throw out several small pieces. A piece of it hit the Buddha's left leg, injuring him and bleeding profusely. As for Devadatta, he later fell seriously ill for many years, staying in one place, unable to go anywhere, and none of his former supporters came to visit. During his illness, he had a lot of time to contemplate his gains and losses, his successes and failures, and to reconsider his actions in previous years. The Venerable sincerely repented, and wanted to see the Buddha before he passed away. At that time, the Venerable was already very weak. Seeing the Buddha standing in front of him, he could not sit up. He could only look at the Buddha intently with eyes begging for forgiveness. Finally, with great effort, the Venerable was able to say just one sentence, "I take refuge in Buddha." Buddha placed his hand on his forehead to comfort him and accept his repentance. This story teaches us that, less resentment and more forgiveness is a practice that brings happiness according to Buddha's teachings. Hopefully the 7 meaningful Buddhist stories above will help you gain greater understanding, reduce afflictions, and apply the profound lessons contained in them to life to become a wise person.
Thank you for spending your valuable time on my channel journey to enlightenment. Wishing you a very peaceful and happy day. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to my support channel. See you in the next video.